in 1994. There's still cows in the barn now here. Eva Kimball and her family had farmed the land for years.
Okay. Oh. And how many acres did it originally consist
They probably
of?
had about 300 acres to begin with.
Uh-huh.
The trust now owns 14 acres.
Oh, wow. The house that Governor Samuel Huntington moved to in Norwich Town, was that property originally farm property?
I have no idea whether it was originally a farm, but it wasn't a farm when he bought it. It was a large house lot. And he bought the house and built that beautiful house that's down there now, although it's been remodeled extensively.
Because I see all that pasture land in the back of
Lathrop Meadows.
Lathrop Meadows. I often wonder if that was originally farmland.
Who's to tell? Lathrop Meadows is Lathrop Meadows. It was given to the town of Norwich forever to use for a park or whatever way they wanted.
Alrighty. And how many rooms does this house have?
Well, the house is quite large now. It was originally 2 rooms, 1 room over 1 room, called a 1 over 1, but it was expanded, and now it's probably 8 or 9 rooms, and it's 3,300 square feet. It's a large house.
And it had a barn, originally had a barn.
It's always been a farm.
Kept
There's
livestock.
foundations here for large barns.
Okay, wow. And did the Huntingtons own slaves?
Like most well-off families back then, slavery being legal, they had at least one slave named Nancy. And we know this because when Nathaniel's will was probated, he listed Nancy in the will.
Oh, really?
And Samuel Huntington in Norwich had a slave. His name was Samuel Huntington.
Okay.
They dropped the T, and he was quite proudly called governor of the African nation in Norwich. I've met some of his descendants. His descendants proudly say, we're descended from Samuel Huntington, the governor of the African community in Norwich.
So, now in the, we don't know what some of the chores might have been. It could have been bringing in firewood or...
The chores for who?
Slaves, maybe.
Nancy probably did
some cooking or...
whatever a woman would do to help a large family. This was a farm, and so everybody worked the farm. I'm sure they worked. They cut wood, they hauled water. You know, you didn't turn the faucet on. You had to go to the well with a bucket and get the water. The wood you had to chop. And they did have animals.
And do they have, how many fireplaces are there?
Fireplaces, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fireplaces.
Oh.
And
those
we can show you any of them.
You can't?
Oh, we can show you all.
Oh, we can, great.
One of the fireplaces
we'll
is
go
quite
inside
a history.
And take a tour of the rooms. And the kitchen must have had a working fireplace, correct?
The kitchen is in the shed, which is the last part of the house built. The fireplace in the kitchen was the last fireplace built, and that is a beauty. We'll show it to you.
Okay. All right, we're going to go inside and take a tour of the birthplace of Governor Samuel Huntington. I hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Let's go inside.
Yep.
I don't know what I sound like.
I'm just going to.
This little L was a separate building on the property, and it was added to the main house after the main house was completed. This is the only part of the house that has electricity. We use it for an office.
All right, so we're going to go inside and I'm just going to get a shot of it inside. Maybe you can just say this is the office here.
Is this an hour show?
Well, I have like 45 minutes, but you know, I can.
You have a shot outside, you have a shot of this, you have a shot of the rest.
Yeah, the show is a half an hour, but you know, if I go over, that's okay. Because I like to save the DVDs if anybody wants to use that some other time, you know.
If I can get a copy of this, it'd be
Sure.
wonderful.
Oh, sure.
Because I never saw your first one.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, this is on. Go stand over there. All right, Channing, can you tell me about the fire? What was this room originally in the fireplace?
When the house was first built by Nathaniel, it was what's called a 1-of-1. The room was standing in, the room above in a garret. And as time went by, of course, it expanded, including the fireplace evolved. When first built, it was a huge granite fireplace which burned logs. Over a period of time, they realized it was inefficient to have such a big fireplace. And you can see the outline of the old bricks and the steel plate across. They reduced the size of the fireplace, which made it much more efficient. And then, like the good Yankees that they were, they put in a Rumford-style fireplace. This lower, smaller fireplace has the modern bricks, which are curved, and another plate, and the firebox is moved forward and the flue is moved forward. They had to cut the big lintel to do it. You can see the hearth is all worn because that's where the fire was, but it made a nice, modern, efficient fireplace, but it lacks the Dutch oven and the means of cooking. That was in our new fireplace in the kitchen behind us.
Did they have any insulation for heat at the time?
No, Maria, the house is what's called a plank house. It's built of post and beam held together with wooden pegs. And so the outside of the house is vertical boards. And that's all it is, just boards.
What kind of wood? I'm just curious.
Either chestnut or oak, and all first growth.
And these windows are the original paned windows?
The windows we see here now were put in probably in about 1820. The original windows were smaller. They were 9/9. These are 12/12. But if we look at the glass, you can see ripples and bubbles, and occasionally several of the panes somebody carved with a diamond put in their initials and their names and a date.
Oh,
Yes, the
really?
glass is original to the house, and it's old.
Okay. I'm just going to show the windows real quick. So Channing, this was the kitchen.
This is the kitchen of the house. We're in the shed of the house, which is the last major addition to the main house. This shed made the house look and be used as a center chimney colonial. The fireplace is interesting. When they couldn't use the fireplace in the main room as it was reduced in size, they built this very massive fireplace. But I have to tell you, the Huntingtons were good to the women. This fireplace had everything the colonial woman wanted. For instance, we had this nice crane,
Yeah.
and you notice the fireplace is
large.
smaller.
Yeah.
Here is a Dutch oven. It has its own flue.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It
That's
has
where you
its
would
own
keep,
flue.
Food warm. Right?
No, more than that, Maria.
Oh.
In the summertime, like I say, we treated the women good. In the summertime, you didn't have to start a fire here. You could start a fire here, and you could do all your own cooking without the main fireplace going.
Oh my goodness.
So this allowed the women to get out of the main fireplace. In the old days, you made the fireplace big enough to have a Dutch oven built into it. This is unfortunate. The women wearing long dresses, one of the major causes of death and injury was catching fire. So
Their aprons, yeah. Yeah. Now this is would be called the hearth, correct?
this is the hearth stone. That's the hearth. That's where we burn it. And you can see the stone is actually all worn away. The fire's been in there for
And that
so
would
many years.
protect the wood from getting any
Oh, if embers come over
embers, yeah. Yeah. Now, I just wanted to mention that I noticed the kitchen is facing north, and I read that a lot of the houses, their kitchens would be facing a certain direction in the colonial days due to giving off warmth in the winter months. I don't know if it, I don't know the accuracy of it, but
I can't say.
yeah, I also know that farmer women got up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Everybody worked. The whole family worked.
Yeah,
This
it
was a
was-
family farm. And one of the interesting things about this is there was a summer kitchen right outside. We've still got all the field stone, the flagstones out there.
Really?
It was a summer kitchen out here because, like you say, it was a farm. Farmers had to eat. In fact, in the little addition that we first came into, our office, there's a door and a little sliding panel. So you can communicate outside. You can open the door or the panel, pass out food, whatever you wanted. There was also a little shed out there, which was used for odds and ends, and I'm sure they stored their dirty clothes and boots, not in here.
Yeah. Is that a porch out there?
That's a handicap ramp.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So if handicapped visitors or
Handicapped
visitors
visitors
want to come visit and take a tour, there's a
They
handicap
can
ramp
come,
here.
and I wish they would. They can
Okay.
come and tour the lower part of the house.
Oh, really?
The house is so old that we're grandfathered in. We're not going to change any of the architecture, take off one of these 200-year-old doors to provide access. I wish we could. But you can come in here, and please do,
Okay.
and use our handicap ramp to see the house.
Well, they would see a beautiful old historic home mansion. We're going to go upstairs or into the front room, and I just want to get a nice shot of the working kitchen fireplace. So, all right, thank you.
We still use it. The chimney's usable.
Okay. Okay, so Channing, this would be the outdoor kitchen.
We're right behind the kitchen door, and the paving rocks, the flagstones, as you can see here, were part of an outside kitchen, probably used in the summertime, especially when we had a lot of people working. The rocks are all numbered and were removed when we worked on the foundation and did the archaeology on the house. Okay. But they're all numbered, and they were placed back where they came from, and they even go underneath our handicap ramp.
So now this is the window right here. You could pass like plates of or
from
notes,
the inside the house, it's covered with clapboards now. There was actually a door and a little sliding panel where you could pass out your blueberry pie or your muffins or whatever you wanted.
Wow. Well, thank you very much. Okay. That's interesting. Thank you. Now, Channing, this is Governor Samuel Huntington.
Yes,
this
it is.
Portrait right here.
This portrait of Governor Samuel Huntington was painted from life by Charles Wilson Field. He's the same gentleman who painted George Washington, that unfinished full-length portrait that hangs in the White House. It was painted from life, and I really like it. Samuel's noted for his sense of humor and his piercing dark eyes. This shows a little grin, and of course his eyes are looking at us.
Oh,
I really think it shows his character.
Yes. Nice portrait.
We have another portrait. Can I show you that?
Sure. Okay. This is another
portrait of Samuel. This is a copy of the Peel portrait. This was painted by a gentleman named Frederick Wright, and the original of this hangs in the State Library in Hartford in the Hall of Governors, where there's a portrait of each of the Connecticut governors. What Mr. Wright did, he painted it. He wanted to paint a picture of a governor, so he put on a wig. He put a few more formal decorations, lace on his cuff, holding a piece of paper to show that he was a dignified governor official. And while it's a nice portrait, I prefer Peel's portrait.
Okay. Now, I want the viewers to remember that Governor Samuel Huntington was a signer of the Declaration of Independence.
So he had a place down there. Married of these are also on the Connecticut Revolution, like so many of the people down there. He was appointed a delegate to the Second Continental Congress. He was twice president of the Continental Congress. And while there, he signed the Declaration of Independence. He was one of the 56 men who pledged their lives, their fortunes, in a sacred honor. Samuel also signed the Articles of Confederation, which is our first constitution. The first.
Did he see any battle in the Revolutionary War?
No. Samuel was a statesman. He was not involved in battles.
Okay.
And,
so how old was he when he joined the cause?
He was probably in his early 30s.
Okay.
But he spent his life in public service. He died in office. He was 10 times governor of the state of Connecticut, and he died in office.
And how old was he when he moved to his beautiful mansion home in
He was probably about 30 years old.
30 years old. And about the fireplace, this would be considered a...
Well, this is a parlor, and the fireplace, again, is Rumford style, the efficient one. It's hard to see right here with the camera fixed, but tall rooms, plenty of windows. Everything is, all the beams are encased. There's chair rails. There's sliding shutters over the windows. It's a nice house.
It is very nice. How old is the wallpaper?
The wallpaper is not terribly old.
Okay.
The wallpaper is probably over 100 years old. Every room in the house has stenciling in it. And most of the stenciling is individual to our house. I can show you a little part of the room behind us. There's 8 layers of wallpaper. One of the layers is an 1830 newspaper, which if you're careful peeling it, you can still read.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. It's a quiet part of Connecticut, Scotland is. It's very rural.
The quiet corner. Unfortunately, we're right next to Route 14, and I'm sure our audience can hear the cars going by.
Okay. All righty. Thank you very much. We'll go to another room and take a tour. Can you explain to me about the stairway? Does this go to the bedrooms upstairs, or? And
yes.
How old is the
Well, the staircase was probably built about 1820. The whole house had been completed, but around then, the family that lived here did a lot of cosmetic improvement to it. And one of the improvements was this staircase. The original staircases were the short, abrupt ones that looked like ladders with steps.
Yeah, very steep.
This staircase is a very nice piece of construction, and it was built by a man who had all his own tools. His planes could do this, the banisters were his own, and he had a little quirk of his own. The balusters were always put in here, not square, but at an angle, like you see here. And he was called, these are called Connecticut staircases, because he built these in quite a few houses around here. And one of the nice parts about it, this staircase goes up, and goes around to fit it in here compactly. And to get it in correctly, when you walk up, you find that all the rises aren't the same height. Staircase works nicely, but he was very ingenious in constructing it to fit right here.
Oh my goodness. Now what is this right here? Would this be...
I think it's called a cubby hole.
Cubby hole, okay.
We don't know what it's for,
Yeah.
but they must have stored something in there.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. I like that stairwell. It's decorative.
It just fits in here just exactly the way it's supposed to. The old colonial style.
Yeah, they were able to put together, I think, very plain lines, but yet they would be decorative, ornamental.
This is typical of what was done at the time.
Simple
It's
lines.
decorative, it feels good. It's been here 200 years and it's as solid as the day it's built.
Okay.
So, unity of form and...
Yeah. Alrighty, thank you. Well, they had basic tools to work with, right?
They had all the tools you can think of now, they just weren't powered. You didn't have an electric saw, you did it by hand. All the planing was done by hand, it wasn't done with a router.
Okay, thank you, Channing. Now, Channing, can you tell us a little bit about this room and what this little soldiers?
Certainly. We're upstairs in the second part of the house. Again, a delightful room. High ceilings, nice windows, and stenciling in every room. In front of us you see the diorama. It was built by Herb Lockery. It shows Rochambeau's army marching from Newport to Yorktown for the last major battle of the Revolutionary War. Rochambeau passed right through Scotland. He passed through here several times. He visited Washington in Hartford and in Wethersfield, so he came through twice with them. Herb built this really fascinating diorama, and he's such a stickler for detail. It's glued on.
Oh, it's glued on, okay.
You can edit. If we look at this gentleman, he has a name, the Major General Joseph Hyacinth. He's portrayed and painted exactly with the proper uniform, riding a horse, and his own little history. Herb researched every little detail of this,
So
and he
each
put it down.
soldier has its
Yes.
original name.
Then, of course, he's got the Governor Samuel Huntington's house back there just before the addition was added.
So now this is supposed to be a replica of when Rochambeau's army came to visit.
Correct, it is replica. Rochambeau's army came through Connecticut on its way to Yorktown, and they passed right by here. We have...
Now the French were helping the Americans in the Revolutionary War.
The French helped us right from the beginning. They recognized us and helped us.
Is this when they marched from the Rochambeau March? Was that from Rhode Island?
It's from Newport, Rhode Island, right through here. They wintered in Lebanon, and they marched, won the Battle of Yorktown along with Washington and our Continental Army. Then they marched all the way back again.
Okay. And they also marched through